What's up, y'all? PD and Kelly here. I am the lead pastor and CEO of the Myrtle Beach Bible Bank, and I'm going to start uploading personal podcasts on things that are important to me with the intent to help you guys, anybody listening, anywhere locally, around the world. Our main goal is just to help you in any way that we can. I have Pastor George Hansen and some of my other pastors doing some preaching videos, and they're going to continue to do that. But some of my recordings are going to start being more about personal stuff. So today, with that said, I want to share some tips with you today as you look at the beautiful scenery, the beach out here in beautiful Myrtle Beach. I just want you to take in the lovely surroundings and the peaceful environment. And then as you do, I want to talk to you a little bit about relationship building. Now, it might not be what you think I'm going to talk about. I'm not talking necessarily about how to improve your marriage or anything like that, but basically just how to improve the relationships in your life in general, okay? And, you know, I'd love very much for your input on things that you'd like to hear about in the future. For your own personal growth. So once you've listened to this, shoot me an email at pdandkelly@myrtlebeachbiblebank.com and tell me what you'd like to hear from me, okay? And so today I want to reflect on ways in which I've built deep, meaningful relationships as an executive, as a counselor, as a pastor, as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a son. Okay, so let's hop into it. Something I've realized, excuse me, about myself is that I tend to overvalue the things that I'm not great at, and I undervalue the things that I am great at. Anybody relate to that? I think we all do, and I think this is something that most of us probably have dealt with at some point in our life if we really examine ourselves. You know, our brains are always defaulting to focus on where the grass is greener, right? So for me, that's saying, oh, that person is an incredible tech guy, or oh, that woman is wildly focused and efficient in the way that she works. Why can't I be that way, right? And at the same time, we ignore the thing that we're great at because it's so innate to our being that we don't realize that it's unique or valuable to other people. So for me, one of those traits is relationship building. I've always been a relationship builder, and I'm really good at it. Now, I don't say that to brag or flex my network, but honestly, because I never give myself credit for that being a superpower of mine, I forget that it's an incredibly important quality to have in work and in life. And because it doesn't feel like a hard skill, like maybe leading a church congregation, or being a great public speaker, or product management, or engineering, or financial modeling, or those kind of things, I fail to acknowledge that it's a strength of mine. God has been working on me with this lately, and He's showing me the great value in it. That in His kingdom economy, and in and the arenas of business, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and the arenas of ministry, that who you know truly is as important as what you know, okay? And it's not just some dated cliche that many of us have heard. And even better, being good at who you know isn't just an art form that you're born with or you're not born with. It's actually a skill that can be developed. So what I'm saying to you is not just about me. It really can be developed within you. It can be developed intentionally over time. So in an effort to help you build deep, meaningful relationships relatively quickly in your careers and in your ministries, with the inspiration of some of my most favored influencers on my life, I have reflected on dozens of my closest professional relationships, and I've asked myself, what are the patterns between all of these connections that have allowed me to build such strong relationships? So what this is not is a checklist of things that I am literally actively thinking of as I'm spending time with my close connections. That's not what this is, okay? It's more of a reflection of the things that I think have helped me build these relationships in the first place. So what I'm going to do now is share the most important traits and skills that any of us can develop and become great, authentic relationship builders. Okay, so get ready. Number one, lead with curiosity. So guys, my MO in every new relationship I'm building is to let my curiosity lead. So what does that mean? Well, I'm personally fascinated by people's stories and how we as humans think. I can't help but think to myself how small each one of us is in the context of nearly 8 billion people on this planet, right? So how cool is it to look at the people around us and know that they have such complicated stories that they're living literally parallel with me and everyone else, yet in it's amazing complexity. And I bring that same curiosity to my relationships, and that curiosity is such a powerful thing for building deep, meaningful relationships quickly, because it allows me to maximize the time that I spend with someone, truly getting to know them in a way that doesn't feel transactional. You ever had that? Ever had someone, be transactional in their relationship? Like you feel like they're just texting you out of the blue and it's just a forced kind of thing, like to build relationships in a forced way. Well, that's what we want to avoid. We want to be meaningful in our relationships, okay? And also, we as people love talking about ourselves. Remember that. It's just how we operate. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So when I'm in curiosity mode, I'm giving someone airtime to tell their story. And honestly, that makes me more of a magnet for them to come back to in the future, because they liked how they felt when they told me about themselves. So that's how we get people willing to continue to build a relationship with us and talk to us, and we can pour into them and shine light into them, right? So the second important trait to building meaningful relationships is don't do small talk. Okay, stay away from superficial conversation. It's fake. Okay, and people see right through it. When I'm talking to someone, when I'm building a new relationship, I try to avoid surface level conversation. I definitely avoid gossip. Okay, I just try to avoid what doesn't matter. What I'm not saying here is that every word out of my mouth has to be deep and intense. It doesn't, okay guys? But think about, how is this conversation driving the goal of any new relationship? Okay, number 3, vulnerability begets vulnerability. I need you to get this, because this is an important factor. If my goal is to really understand who someone is, what motivates them, the things that matter to them most in life, the challenges that they're facing, I guess it requires them to open up. I don't expect people to do things I don't do, right? So what I try to do is I always lead by example. I open up. I share with others answers to the questions that I want to get to know about them. So I tell them my story. I talk about my journey with issues in the past. I talk about getting bullied in middle school. I talk about my family. I talk about health issues as a child. I talk about my family, my ministry, my work, my marriage, my life. I talk about the passing of my parents. These are real things, guys. And no, I don't throw all that on someone immediately. No, I don't do that. But this is who I am. These things are who I am. These are real. This is what actually matters to me in the context of my life. If I'm going to build a relationship with someone, I want them to know the stuff that matters to me. And in turn, this is going to open up to them. It's going to open them up to sharing the stuff that matters to them, right? Amen? So, okay, the fourth thing here to building deep, meaningful relationships is to treat ministry and professional relationships like personal relationships. People are not just business. They are human beings. Don't forget that. It's important, okay? They want to feel like that. They don't want to feel transactional. So here's how I think about it. I've never met top performers in companies, and ministries, and leadership circles that didn't have a close personal relationship with the people that they worked with, or under, or for, or over, And I genuinely believe that the more you treat people you work with and you interact with like people who have lives, who have fears, aspirations, like you, the more that you're going to connect with them is going to be when you interact with them on that personal level. Okay, so trait number 5. We're almost done here, guys. But validate, validate, validate. Amen? At the end of the day, if you don't know what validate means, please look it up because it's an important thing. But hopefully this, my words here kind of help you with this a little bit. But human beings really are simple, guys. Beyond our physiological needs that sit at the bottom of, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, another thing you should look up. But I'll tell you briefly, it's things like shelter, food, water, they're basic needs. That's Maslow's hierarchy. We look for a few key things outside of that, okay? We look for love, we look for connection, we look for respect and recognition. And when we validate people authentically, we are quite literally satisfying some of the most important needs that other humans have in their lives. So again, what I'm not saying is just to throw out compliments just for the heck of it. Don't do that, okay? It's fake. But what I'm saying is to have the awareness to recognize someone when they deserve recognition or love or praise, okay? So the 6th trait of building deep, meaningful relationships is be unpredictable. Okay? The way to stand out and accelerate a relationship is to do what other people won't do. To me, in the context of relationships, it's showing someone that you're thinking of them when you don't need to be thinking of them. Okay? In appropriate ways, of course. Okay? My way of doing that is basically like using the internet as surface area for serendipity. Okay? So I use the internet as my tool for showing people that I'm always thinking of them. So whenever I find a YouTube video or Instagram post or some piece of content or an article, I always ask myself the question, who would enjoy this content and who would benefit from this content? And guys, it's really such a small and easy thing, but it amplifies the value of the content that I'm consuming because now it turns a totally independent activity into possibly a smart conversation. And it shows the person that I'm reaching out to that they're always top of the mind for me. And I want to add value to them in any way that I can. So with my wife, Kelly, my beauty, my lovely bride, I listen to her. She says something that makes her happy, and at some point out of the blue, I make it happen. Not just with material things, but with emotional things too, okay? And the last trait for building a deep, meaningful relationship is to not always have an agenda. In the world of work, it's so easy to have an agenda, and that pours out into our personal life as well, right? And I think about agendas in 2 ways. A literal agenda, where you have items that you want to talk about, and if you talk about other things, it's a waste of time because it wasn't on that list of items, right? So, and then there's a figurative agenda. When you're going into the conversation with your own personal reasons that the person you're talking to, they may or may not know about this agenda. And it's inevitable, guys, that many of our meetings and conversations in work and in ministry, they're going to have some sort of agenda, physical or figurative. And that's okay. But I don't believe you can ever meaningfully build deeper relationships if you exclusively talk with an agenda in place. There needs to be more fluidity, more spontaneity, serendipity, okay? So when you build relationships, be thinking about those things, okay? A quick example, I will skip that. Okay, so as far as these traits that I've listed, what I'm not saying, again, is to think of these actively as a checklist while you're hanging out with someone, but more so to revisit them and always have them in the back of your mind as you're looking to build new connections with people in any of your spheres of influence. Okay, so with that, I would love to hear from you. Send an email to PD and Kelly at myrtlebeachbiblebank.com and tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? Where do you work? Why'd you decide to listen to this podcast? And to add a little bit of extra incentive, if you send a message to me, I'm going to send you a funny selfie of myself or maybe Kelly and I when I respond to your message. Okay? So please click like below, share, and subscribe to follow our podcasts and videos. Thank you so much for listening, guys and ladies. And if you've enjoyed, please let others know who you think would enjoy the show as well. Thanks again. I'll catch you next episode.